And that clothing is really that first line of defense against the elements, right? So I like to joke the reason the show's called Naked and Afraid is because if you're naked, you should be afraid. And so that clothing allows you to have that shelter from the elements. And so whatever it is, and then those 8 pieces allow a lot of versatility and adaptability. And yeah, you're right. If you need to, the rain jacket blocks wind, right? The puffy jacket to me is like I don't go anywhere, no matter what time of year, no matter how far from the truck, I always have some kind of puffy jacket because I understand that if I can trap my body heat with that and maybe a beanie, then I can stay warm, right? And if you can stay dry, man, if you got those 2 things licked, you're going to be able to figure it out, right? So it's super critical that people understand that. And there's been so many advances in technology and the more brands than ever building technical clothing systems. I, I don't really care which one you pick. Whichever one you pick, you can figure out how to use to your advantage to help you have an amazing experience out there. And so I talk about the 8 pieces, just as, kind of a slightly broad brush, and then assembling them into a cohesive system that kind of works together. But clothing is absolutely critical. But how often do we train with our clothing? Like nobody, well, I shouldn't say nobody. I mean, I'm dumb enough to do it, but part of it's for my job. But like nobody goes out there and says, well, geez, I wonder if wonder if these pair of pants will dry if I get them wet. And then the first time they have to figure it out is when they fall out of the raft on a float hunt in Alaska or crossing a log to go bear hunting in the spring. And then they're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Like, am I going to dry out? Am I going to freeze to death? And that insets potentially, maybe not panic, but a decision, a series of decisions that may lead to a poor outcome because they haven't figured that out in advance, right? And so again, what are you doing I'll be gracious and say, what are you doing the 10 months out of the year you're not hunting, right? Or the 9 months out of the year you're not hunting? You have all these opportunities to still go out there and have these great adventures and try to figure these things out without the risk of having this, potentially once in a lifetime tag in your pocket and like, blowing the one sheep hunt you'll ever get a chance to go on. Like you'd hate that to be the case. So, the off season, so to speak, or other times outside of hunting are the times to do all these things.
Right. So we've planned for the weather. We got the right clothing system. We believe that we're dialed in that regard. Now, when we're planning, the other challenge that a lot of people have, because it's hard unless you've been to the specific spot. Let's assume you've never been to the spot, is planning for water.
Yeah.
A lot of, especially younger dudes, will be like, I'm just going to go as far in as I can, and I don't know what's back there. Woo! And we'll find water when we get there, and you can do that. But how do you plan for hydration? What are you carrying? Are you carrying a pen? Are you carrying pills, filters, whatever? Just knowing that we don't know where we're going to find water.
Yeah. So water in general is sometimes the biggest crux of a trip. Like you can drop a pin on a map doing your e-scouting. That's the easy part. But, can you get there? And then once you're there, can you live? And really a lot of the living, because you're going to carry the food, is the water, because you can't carry all the water. So you have to figure out where you can get water sources, and then, where do you camp in relation to where the water is, et cetera. And then once you figure that out, and speaking from a guy who has had Giardia, and I never want it again, you have to figure out, okay, how am I going to, purify or filter that water? And so generally speaking, if I'm going higher up where the waters tends to be a little clearer and streams run, or there's, melt from a snowfield or something like that, I think a SteriPen's a great tool, right? So super easy, 90 seconds, and boom, liter of water's purified. But if you're a little lower and you're going to be like elk hunting and potentially around, lowlands and wallows and some things like that, where the streams and creeks, and God forbid you have to actually filter out of a wallow.
I don't recommend that. I've tried that. It's not pretty.
It smells real bad too. But
Yeah.
you have a lot of sediment in the water, and so
Mhm.
you want to filter that out. So oftentimes some type of filtration pump, is a better course of action. So you have to figure out what tool that is. So find the water, and then have a just a guess as to what the water source may be like, and then choose the right tool for the job. So a SteriPen is not always the right choice, but maybe a filter is not always the right choice. And so my backup is always to carry some tabs, some chlorine dioxide tabs that, listen, at a bare minimum, I can scoop, I can drop a tab in a liter of water, I can wait the requisite minimum 30 minutes, and at least I'm trying to do my part to, to not get sick or not make myself sick. The good thing is a lot of times you don't get sick while you're actually in the field, but as soon as you come out, you tend to get sick. But this is a critical part of living in the backcountry. And if you don't figure that out, like there's no way to just like be hard and gut through no water. Like you'll die. The general rule is 3 hours without shelter, 3 days without water. So you have to figure it out. And when you're putting out a big effort, which every backcountry hunter is, it's absolutely, that's your lifeline.